memory care, and skilled nursing. Our exciting independent lifestyle is the perfect combination of freedom, comfort, and security. Enjoy total independence with peace of mind. Our independent lifestyle includes chef-prepared meals in our beautiful waterfront dining room, a continental breakfast, all utilities, including cable and telephone, housekeeping with linen service, scheduled transportation, including trips for shopping, local restaurants, theater, and more. Our activities program is second to none. At the Oaks of Clearwater, you'll enjoy affordable luxury waterfront senior living with a $1 million view. Call today, 727-445-4069, and discover where caring, compassionate service really makes the difference.
Hubble Funeral Home and Crematory, close to you when you need the most. Hubble Funeral Home and Crematory is conveniently located off West Bay Drive in Bel Air and is accessible to individuals with any physical challenges. Hubble Funeral Home and Crematory has taken great care to provide surroundings of peace and comfort and is proud to offer formal chapel seating for 80 to 120 guests, a separate repose room with living room furnishings for a relaxed, more intimate service, a private clergy room, 2 comfortable arrangement rooms, a state-of-the-art music system, and ample parking. Hubble Funeral Home and Crematory invites you to stop by and tour their facility at any time at 499 North Indian Rocks Road in Bel Air Bluffs. And please feel free to call anytime. 727-584-7671. Hubble Funeral Home and Crematory. Simply compassionate. Find them online at hubblefuneralhome.com.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Hey, welcome to our show. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. And if you're just joining us for the first time today, thank you so much for catching our show. And if you're picking us up in one of our other affiliate networks, thank you again for joining us no matter what time it is, day or night. And we have a fantastic show lined up for you today. We put a lot of thoughts and energy, and I don't give Jody French enough credit for helping out with the day-to-day routine and everything that goes into putting these shows together. Thank you, Jody, by the way. And solar energy is our topic for today's show. And our guest, I couldn't be more happy to introduce Yogi Goswami. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. He is the director of Clean Energy Research Center at USF. You've been there for 9 years. And I had the pleasure of talking with you quite a bit before the show and to get an idea of what you do over there. And it's fascinating. You've been doing it for so long. And some of the things that you guys do at USF, it's a lot of research. It's a lot of homework. It's a lot of, developing products that don't exist now.
Yes, indeed.
All these things to make our everyday life better.
Well, that's what our passion is, to develop new technologies, new products that'll help people.
And how big is your team over there?
Well, we have, I think, around 10 faculty researchers and about 20 graduate students. So it's a fairly
pretty good size. Yes. Yeah. So I don't even know where to start because we talked about so many amazing things when I had you on the off air earlier. But we were talking about some of the things that you're working on right now. And you have 4 different projects that you're working on?
Yes, we have 4 major projects and then some smaller projects.
Right. One of them is storing solar energy.
Yes. Now, that is extremely important.
So I picked the most important one first.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
That indeed. It's because even though we want to use solar energy, because that's the right thing to do, but we also know that it's available only during daytime, but not nighttime. And even during daytime, when it's cloudy, we don't have the solar energy. So storage of that energy when more is available than we need is extremely important so that we can then use it when sunlight is not available.
And this is not really on the market anywhere yet, right? Or is it?
Well, some of it is. I mean, for example, you store electricity in batteries.
Right.
However,
That makes sense.
they're very
What a great analogy.
they're very expensive,
Right.
especially if you want to store large-scale energy. They're very expensive. So what we're trying to do is to find ways of storing large amounts of energy, but at very low cost.
And I know you were saying that a lot of the stuff that you guys do within research and development is not only coming out with new applications and new products, but it's also figuring out how to run things more efficiently, how to run them more cost effectively.
Yes, indeed. There are many applications where we know we can use solar energy, but it may be more expensive now than we can afford. And so one of our objectives in research is to make things more efficient, which in a way reduces the cost.
And that makes sense. Now, I think I asked you this off the show, how long it takes from the time, like the developmental idea, all the way through when it goes, and even actually, why don't you chime in on that process? Because that is quite a process.
Indeed. Starting from the idea to trying to see how we can develop it and getting the students and researchers involved and doing the research, and then getting to a point where you can say, okay, we can make some pilot project to see whether it actually will work. Then it gets ready for commercialization. So that process sometimes can take as much as 10 years. Of course, it depends on the idea. Sometimes we come up with ideas that are ready to go out on the market in a couple of years.
Right,
But
depending on how big the project is, right, and how complex and how much you know about it already.
Indeed.
The other thing we didn't touch on yet, and I know you and I talked about this before the show, and I asked you to explain it to me because I'm sure, for someone listening, they may want to know also. I said, hey, this might sound like a silly question, but what is clean energy? What is renewable energy? Like, break it down like I'm 5. Explain it to me. Can you explain that to the person listening?
Well, clean energy is all kinds of energy that does not harm the environment that we live in. And we know that a lot of things we do, they are harming the environment. So our environment is not as clean today as it was, let's say, 50 years ago. And in the future, we want to leave a cleaner environment for our children. So there are many energy sources, and they are mostly renewable energy sources that are clean energy resources. For example, sunlight. It's a clean energy resource. It does not harm the environment. Biofuels, even though when you burn a fuel, it will harm the environment, but that biofuel or the biomass as it was grown, it actually cleaned the environment. So net effect of biofuels is zero. Effect on the environment.
No long-term effects, like, for example, global warming, right, would be a great example.
Right. And that's what we need to worry about a lot as to how we are changing the global environment, how the global climate is changing, the temperatures are changing, because that will affect a lot of things in the future.
And it might be a little bit off topic, but I'm just curious, what are the big things that we're doing as a society now that's affecting that kind of stuff?
Well, pretty much everything we do.
Everything. We have it all wrong. That's what I'm hearing. We got to fix it.
See, we need to use energy for whatever we do, whether we go somewhere, transportation, or we cook, we do things at home, outside home. So we're using energy. And as we use energy, it does have an effect on the environment. So nature has a way of counterbalancing it to some point, but
We
as
can
long
only do
as,
so much with our damage, right?
Right. So if we only damage as much as nature can take care of it, then we call it the sustainable energy use, and so our sustainable environments. If we can do it in that way, I think that'll be good for the future. But a lot of the things we are doing are not sustainable.
Right. So what are there's like 4 big projects that you're working on now?
4 big projects, but a couple of them are in storage because we think it's so important for our future that we figure out how to store energy at certain point and then be able to use it at a different point.
Gotcha.
So first one I mentioned, I did not mention yet.
Well, we talked about solar
Right.
and solar
Right.
storage.
So, well, for solar storage, you can store it as heat. So we call that thermal energy storage. Where it becomes important is in thermal power plants. We can convert sunlight to electricity 2 ways. One is called photovoltaics. The other is called thermal power. So where we're using it as thermal power, when you have a lot more sunlight available, at that time you store it as heat, and then you don't have it available, then you use that heat to make electricity.
It's so interesting, like, because I can imagine how many hours and months into research goes into a project just to figure out how to make sunlight energy, like
Right.
power.
Right,
So
right.
interesting.
Yeah.
You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We have to take a very quick break. We're here with Yogi Goswami, and we'll be back in a few minutes. And after we come back, we're going to talk about some of the other big projects you guys are on. One of them is incredibly fascinating. Can't wait to talk about that one. But I won't spoil it for you. So stick around, and we'll be back in a minute. Hey, Katrina Madewell here. Just wanted to make sure you know how to reach us on our off-air number. If you'd like to connect with myself or any of our guests, you can call us at 813-377-2775. Again, this is Katrina Madewell, host of Tampa Home Talk, and to connect with myself or any guests we have on air, just call or text at 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775.
You've heard this before. Interest rates are at all-time record lows. But if your interest rate is 4% or above, you owe it to yourself to call Silverton Mortgage Specialist. Silverton is a direct lender, and the best part about this is that the entire loan process is handled in-house. From application to close, we do it all in the same building, which means that our loans close fast and our clients know what's going on every step of the way. Our contact info is located on TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show. What makes Silverton different? Products. We offer VA, FHA, USDA, and conventional loans pricing. Best rates with the lowest closing cost. Process everything in-house. It's handled right here and not outsourced to anyone that no one can reach. This way we can avoid surprises. Our people are simply the best, and we know you'll agree. What will closing Silverton Mortgage Specialist mean to you? A smooth process, real home loan value, and personal attention from real professionals. Silverton Mortgage Specialists are here to serve you. Visit TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show for all of our contact details. NMLS 109600 is an equal housing lender and Florida and Georgia residential mortgage licensee.
Hi, this is Aaron Davis, owner of Hillsborough Title. Hillsborough Title is a local, family-owned title agency here in Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. We've served Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Call us at 813-712-8888 or visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
Curious what your Tampa home is worth? Here's an easy way to find out what homes like yours are selling for in today's market. Text the word value to 813-377-2775 for a free report on Tampa house prices. We'll send you a free report with up-to-the-minute statistics based on all homes for sale sold in your neighborhood over the last 6 months in all price ranges. To get your free report on Tampa Bay house prices, just call or text the word value to 813-377-2775. Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Thank you so much for sticking with us through the break. We appreciate that. And you can find us here same time, same place every week. If you miss any part of our show, it is available on a podcast, or you can catch it out on tampahometalk.com under radio. And we have Yogi Goswami in. He is the director of Clean Energy Research Center over at USF here, our neighbor college. And you guys are constantly just fixing, tweaking, reinventing, making things better, anything around solar energy, right, in that department.
Right. So solar energy as well as other clean energy resources.
And we were talking about some of your big projects kind of before the break, and one of those is storing solar energy. Mm-hmm. And another one you mentioned was the desalination of seawater?
Yes, indeed. As we look to the future, I think there are two big problems. One is energy, the other is water.
Yes.
So, and water may be the bigger problem for us in the future, that is clean drinking water. And so, but at the same time, we have a lot of seawater available.
Yes.
So if we can utilize a clean energy resource like sunlight and produce clean drinking water, that would take care of our problem. So that's why that's another area of emphasis in our research.
In that project, that's probably one of the longer ones for sure, right? That takes longer amount of time to figure it out.
Well, you can desalinate water even now with using solar energy, but it's not very efficient. Mm-hmm. And so what we are trying to do is to find more efficient and cheaper ways of doing it. So one of the things that we are working, for example, is as you get the sunlight, you first convert that to electricity. And whatever waste that you have that you would actually have to throw away, mm-hmm. you use that to desalinate water. So you're getting multiple outputs out of the same energy inputs.
Because I know one of the things that we talked about, and I never even thought about this, but with something like solar energy, like you say, where you get the light during the day, it's either use it, store it, sell it, or lose it.
Indeed.
It's not a whole, it's just one of those four things.
Indeed. And so far in the past, we've been throwing it away. And so, because we've not been using it. But we can use it. We may not be able to use all of it. So if we can store it, that's better than just using it, and certainly better than not using it.
And now, because of the web and that kind of stuff too, stuff moves a lot faster than it used to, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Like just the speed of technology, the speed of thoughts and ideas and implementation is like...
and that's very important, because people all over the world are working. And so what somebody's doing here at USF may help someone working just on the other side of the globe.
So you're collaborating with people in other countries?
Yes, indeed. So information transfer is very fast, and therefore you can collaborate, while in the past you could not.
That's so interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's just the speed of just the amount of, it's just crazy how much time the web has saved for everything, really, because, one led to the next.
Yes, indeed. And development of the technology, the information technology, has helped a lot.
You and I know we're talking before the show, and I was just talking about how it's so different here, like in our market in Florida, whereas if you go to California, like for example, they're very big on green homes. They're very big on energy efficiency. They're very big on all of it. Like you can find a lot more people riding their bicycle, walking, driving golf carts, that kind of stuff.
Yes, indeed. And actually, there's a lot of interest here also in Florida.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people ask about
it. In fact, at one time, Florida was the leader in solar energy. most of the solar industry in the past, and I'm talking about like 40 years back, was in Florida. And because this is where.
So how did
people
we
felt
lose that, Yogi?
Well, we lost it for a number of reasons. First one was change in policies that did not encourage the use of solar energy, and therefore I remember that about 30 years back, some solar manufacturing companies in Florida had to close down because their market just went down because of policies. Then some happens because of the competing resources. You know, if certain other resource becomes cheap all of a sudden, then solar can't compete.
Right.
And so there are a number of reasons why that happens, but the
You were saying
bigger
state,
point
when you
is-
say policies too, like state policies.
Indeed, this state policy. I'll give you an example. In Germany, they adopted what they call the feed-in law. That means feed-in law.
Okay.
That means if you have solar panels on your roof, you can feed electricity from the panels into the grid.
Okay. And for
so
the person listening, if you don't know what that is, that's where you produce so much energy with your clean energy resource
Right.
that you sell it back to the power company.
Yes. And
Right.
so because you're feeding electricity or you're selling it to the electricity company, then you should be paid for it.
Right.
Okay. Now, the feed-in law in Germany said because your electricity is more valuable, it's cleaner, number one, it does not harm the environment, and number two, it'll be used right in that neighborhood, so it doesn't have to travel hundreds of miles before being used. So you should be paid more for that electricity.
Sure.
So in that feed-in law, they made that tariff so high that if you had money in the bank, you would say, well, rather than keeping it in the bank, let me buy panels, put them on the roof, and start producing electricity.
Right.
So that started a revolution in Germany, and they had a goal of, I think, 20% renewable electricity by 2020. They've already achieved that goal.
Wow.
Right. And so
It's kind of like a bunch of horses, right? If they're all pulling in the same direction, it's going to happen much faster than them pulling opposing sides.
Right. And so that's just one example, but that's not the only way you can encourage use of solar energy. I think locally, Chico was doing it. I'm not sure whether the program is still on, but when we installed our panels on our home, they were giving $2 a watt rebate. And so that just made it much more
sweeter.
affordable. Much more affordable.
And with you seeing this every day, it's like, how can I not do that? Right.
Right.
And
Indeed.
plus the federal tax credit, which I think we said is still out there, right? Or we believe it's out there.
Yes, indeed. And so the Congress was good for us in that they passed this federal tax credit of 30%. That means 30% of the cost of your solar system, that includes the panel and the inverters and other things, that 30% you get back in tax credits. And so when you combine it all, it becomes affordable.
And we were talking about that, and I was asking, like, you know, how long the equipment lasts, right? Which some of the stuff you guys are working on, like how can we make it more efficient, better, stronger, that kind of stuff. And what's the break-even period? Because I think a lot of people, that's what they think of. Oh, it's so expensive. My break-even period is never, you know, and like all this stuff, which just isn't true.
Yeah. Well, you know, for our case, we got a photovoltaic system for our house, which is a little more than 5 kilowatt system. And I calculated after the TICO rebate and the tax credit that the payback period was a little more than 5 years. However, the life of that system is almost 30 years.
And it's still going.
So that yes, and so that means after it's paid back, now it's free to you.
Right.
And so because you got your money back already.
And so just to give someone like an idea what that looked like. So before you put this in, your bill, your power bill may have been what, $300 or $400?
Our power bill, because we have a bigger house, was about $300 to $400,
And
in
so
that range.
and then-
now it's about $100 or less.
So it's not that you're never going to have a power bill if you do this. It's just the amount you're going to save monthly can be huge, especially if your power bill is sizable.
Yes, indeed. And the thing is that in our case, on the south side of our roof, all we could do was to put about 5 kilowatts. But our neighbors were able to put 10 kilowatts. So their bill in some months may be close to zero, because double our system.
And I just thought of a couple more questions that I totally want to ask, but I'm looking at our show clock and I know we have to take a really quick break. But when we come back in a minute here on Tampa Home Talk, I'm going to ask you some more questions about like freestanding solar stuff and putting them on the roof and with your neighbor. Excellent point. Back in just a minute. Hang tight.
Started without you, so find your desperation, 'cause it's time to go.
Hey, Katrina Madewell here. Just wanted to make sure you know how to reach us on our off-air number. If you'd like to connect with myself or any of our guests, you can call us at 813-377-2775. Again, this is Katrina Madewell, host of Tampa Home Talk, and to connect with myself or any guests we have on air, just call or text at 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775.
You're buying a house. Congratulations. So while you're worrying about the paperwork, leave the moving part to us. We're Woody & Sons Moving Company, a Florida licensed and insured mover, and we offer same-day written estimates. Plus, no sneaky mileage, stairs, or additional stop fees. All we ask is that you check out our great ratings on Google and Angie's List, then go to woodyandsons.com to learn more. Whether you need a full-service pack and move or some extra hands, at Woody & Sons Moving Company, we move you.
Hi, this is Aaron Davis, owner of Hillsborough Title. Hillsborough Title is a local family-owned title agency here in Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. We've served Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Call us at 813-712-8888 or visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
Ask me about an inside secret to save several hundreds of dollars on your annual homeowner's insurance premium. Text the word WIND, W-I-N-D, to 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775.
Hey, it's Paula, your insurance lady. You've got your insurance good news of the day. Did you know that there are private companies in Florida that are offering flood insurance? That's great news. In many cases, a private carrier can offer you better rates than your old FEMA policy. So that's good news of the day. We've got private great carriers offering flood insurance in our state. So check with me or check with your agent today. I'm Paula, your insurance lady.
Hey, this is Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you are listening to Tampa Home Talk.
Well, welcome back to our show. This is your host, Katrina Madewell. And if you're just picking us up for the first time in one of our other networks, thank you so much for joining our show. You can catch us here same time, same place every week. And if you miss any part of today's show, by all means, catch it in its entirety because we are available on a podcast. Just hop on over, search for Tampa Home Talk, or go to our website, tampahometalk.com, under radio. And you can also see information about our guests and how to reach them, which for today's show is Yogi Goswami. And he is the director over there at USF Clean Energy Research Center. A lot of fabulous things. And you've written so many books. I didn't even touch on that yet, like 19, 20 some books.
Well, my 18th book came out about a month ago, which is Principles of Solar Engineering. And 19th is coming out in August, 20th in December, and 21st in March of 2016. But they've all been written. I don't have to write them anymore.
Right. Thank goodness, right? And so one of the things I didn't quite touch on yet, and I don't want to hop around too much, but I don't want to forget the funding for your department over there. It takes a lot of money and cost and energy and time to research all of these things, to make things better, to make where we live more efficient. Where do most of your funds come from for your research center?
Well, we depend on the federal Department of Energy, for example, and other departments for research funding. Some comes from the state, some comes from private corporations, so various sources.
I would love to see our state get a lot more involved and offer incentives and funding, for not only for the consumer to put in clean energy sources, but also for you guys to develop them to make them affordable for the people buying them.
Right. I think state can do a lot, especially our state can fund research that helps mostly citizens of the state.
Exactly.
At the same time, in this research, we're educating graduate students. So researchers are graduate students, and so it's
a little
not
piece
just
of our future.
Right, they are our future.
So I know before we broke, we were talking about your analogy as far as doing the solar water heating system that you put in your house, for example, which has been, you said 20 years ago? That long ago? 30 years ago? No.
Well, we've had a solar water heater in our home at least for the last 35 years. Okay, because the first time we got the solar water heater, my wife saw certain advantages that she did not know of, and after that she would never be without a solar water heater. And
like
that is,
what?
for example, if you have your normal water heater, and one person takes a long shower, the next person has to wait.
Or they get a cold shower.
Right.
Whichever they prefer.
But with the solar water heater, usually the storage tank is very large, and so the next person doesn't have to wait. And so that's the biggest advantage that she saw, that at any time we had hot water because we had solar water heater.
I wonder if they'll move to the direction of like tankless water heaters with the stored energy. I'm sure that's probably on the agenda.
Yes, if you're going to use conventional sources for heating water, then tankless water heater makes sense. That means that you're not losing energy in that tank while you're not using it.
I remember, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask you too, like for just using myself, for example, our pool originally in our fireplace was on gas. It was the only thing in our home that was heated by gas. And so when we had to change the pump out, I thought, well, I don't know if I want to keep the gas, and I wanted to go to solar. That was my idea at the time. And so the guy that came out said, your roof is a little bit architecturally challenged for the solar panels. And then, you get into like now, since that time I've replaced my roof, and then you think, do you really want solar panels attached to your roof? Because then it can void the warranty, and all this stuff. Do you see how much like freestanding stuff do you see, like freestanding solar panels, or are they pretty much all on the roof?
Well, roof, because normally you're not using it, that's why we put it on the roof. But if you don't want to put them on the roof and you have some other structural location where you can put them, you could do that also. But coming back to the swimming pool water heater, we've had our solar pool heating system for a number of years, since 1990. And the good thing that we had was that some of our friends who had gas-based pool heaters, the day the weather was nice and they wanted to go into the pool, but they wanted to heat the water, they would start the heater, but by the time the water is heated in the pool, then they're not in the mood to go in the pool.
Yeah, everybody's ready to get out.
Right. And so in our case, because sunlight doing it, so we had warm water whenever we needed to use it.
So, and this brings me to one of the other things that we talked about is, some of the scams that you see out there with solar companies, and, what are some of the things that someone could watch out, like what makes sense and what doesn't with regards to solar?
Well, let me say this, that a vast majority of solar companies that are out there, they're very honest people, and they are in it for the right reasons.
For the love of it.
For the love of it, and they want people to use clean energy. And so I wouldn't worry about them. But there are others who are not that honest. And so you need to be careful about that. For example, if somebody's selling you a big air conditioning system with one solar panel and says, okay, this is a solar based air conditioning system, that can't work that way. Okay, so they may be telling you to take tax credit on the whole system, including the air conditioning system, which is actually legally not right.
Yeah, that's a homeowner maintenance item.
Right, and so you need to actually find out from, sometimes the state will give you that information, Energy Extension Services will give that information, or you can call it USF, Clean Energy Research Center, and we can give you that information.
Awesome.
Right.
So I know the solar systems available on the market. Like, what's available now? What kind of things are you guys trying to make better? Like, what's available solar that someone's like, wow, I didn't even know that? Because like when I was talking to you, I'm like, there's solar AC, and you're like, yeah, but they're not very efficient.
Right. Well, right now, what's available on the market, which is most common, solar hot water systems, because we all use hot water every day. Then you have the photovoltaic systems that produce electricity.
What are those?
It's called photovoltaic.
Okay.
But there's solar panels that produce electricity.
Okay.
And so they're on the roof, and so electricity that they produce feeds into your home. At the same time, it's connected with the grid. So when you are not using enough and it's producing that much, then it's feeding into the grid. That means you're selling that to the power company, and so you get credit for that.
So use it, store it, sell it, but don't lose it.
Right.
The most of the books that you've written too have been like reference books, and I know that you touched on the International Solar Energy Society.
Yes, International Solar Energy Society is a society of people who are working in the field of solar energy or who are interested in the field of solar energy, and it has chapters in over 100 countries, including the U.S. The U.S. chapter is called the American Solar Energy Society, and so at one time I was the president of the International Solar Energy Society with all the 100 chapters.
Which is crazy that I mean that's pretty fascinating. It's what kind of stuff do they do as a chapter? Like, what does that society do? What's their purpose? What's their mission?
Well, their mission is to get the information out on solar energy. So, for example, they publish a scientific journal called Solar Energy. And that journal gives the research information, all of the research that's going on around the world. So it publishes that research. I'm the editor-in-chief of that journal. Then they have a magazine called Renewable Energy Focus. That magazine is for common people who are not involved, consumers who are not involved in research, but they would just like to get more information, so they can get that magazine. I think you can sign up for that magazine for free.
What's the name of it again?
It's Renewable Energy Focus.
Renewable Energy Focus. I'm going to definitely subscribe to that.
Right, and I think online version is probably free. I'm not entirely sure.
That's okay. We'll check it out.
Right.
It's a good resource for the person listening. Like, somebody like me that really doesn't know a lot about this topic. So we bring you in to talk about it, and then talk about how solar can change the way we live, the way we work. It can change our home and all of those things. I mean, and it's like you said, it's a cleaner way to live, which matters because the long-term damage leads to, global warming, which I don't even know what that leads to. Maybe burning us all up. I'm not sure, but
yeah. Well, there another magazine that I just thought of is called Solar Today.
Okay.
And that's published by the American Solar Energy Society, and I think that is by subscription. And you can buy it in the bookstores and magazine stores.
And the consumer reading or looking through that, what kind of information could they expect to find in there?
I think these magazines publish information that homeowners can use. For example, systems that they can put on their homes. What are the advancements? What are the new developments? What kinds of systems that were not available before, but they are available now?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of information is in these magazines.
It gives the average or the layperson like me an idea what's out there and how we could improve things. So what's the number one thing that uses the most energy, would you say, in your home? Is the AC or something else?
Well, in state of Florida, air conditioning is a big user, and of course, cooking uses energy. Hot water that we use, that uses energy.
Those are the three biggies.
Right.
Are you seeing any like whole house, like solar type stuff to heat the water, to give you the electricity, to, store it? Are you seeing anything? Is that some of the stuff you guys are developing now?
We are developing, actually, we are working on things that make these systems more efficient and therefore reduce the cost.
So that the average homeowner may see that or have an opportunity.
Right. But otherwise, you can buy a system, for example, a hot water system, which will take care of most of your hot water needs, or a photovoltaic system, which gives you electricity.
Gotcha. Well, you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I know we have to take a real quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about your passion, your love, like kind of what's your directed focus right now, because you have a very big project that you're working on. And I would love for you to share that with the person listening. So we'll be back in just a minute. Hang tight.
You've heard this before. Interest rates are at all-time record lows. But if your interest rate is 4% or above, you owe it to yourself to call Silverton Mortgage Specialist. Silverton is a direct lender, and the best part about this is that the entire loan process is handled in-house. From application to close, we do it all in the same building, which means that our loans close fast and our clients know what's going on every step of the way. Our contact info is located on TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show. What makes Silverton different? Products. We offer VA, FHA, USDA, and conventional loans pricing. Best rates with the lowest closing costs. Process everything in-house. It's handled right here and not outsourced to anyone that no one can reach. This way we can avoid surprises. Our people are simply the best, and we know you'll agree. What will closing Silverton Mortgage Specialist mean to you? A smooth process, real home loan value, and personal attention from real professionals. Silverton Mortgage Specialists are here to serve you. Visit TampaHometalk.com under Radio Show for all of our contact details. NMLS 109600 is an equal housing lender and Florida and Georgia residential mortgage licensee.
You're buying a house. Congratulations. So while you're worrying about the paperwork, leave the moving part to us. We're Woody & Sons Moving Company, a Florida licensed and insured mover, and we offer same-day written estimates. Plus, no sneaky mileage, stairs, or additional stop fees. All we ask is that you check out our great ratings on Google and Angie's List, then go to woodyandsons.com to learn more. Whether you need a full-service pack and move or some extra hands, at Woody & Sons Moving Company, we move you.
Hey, Katrina Madewell here. Just wanted to make sure you know how to reach us on our off-air number. If you'd like to connect with myself or any of our guests, you can call us at 813-377-2775. Again, this is Katrina Madewell, host of Tampa Home Talk, and to connect with myself or any guests we have on air, just call or text at 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775.
This is Michael J. Mayer, #1 international best-selling author of 7L, The 7 Levels of Communication, with the subtitle of Go From Relationships to Referrals. And someone who knows how to go from relationships to referrals is your host for Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell. Listen, tell your friends, spread the word. You need to listen to Tampa Home Talk every Thursday and Saturday at 5 p.m.
Welcome back. Good choice, Chris. That's actually Michael Mayer's birthday today. Excellent work.
Is it really?
It is.
See that? I shouldn't have said, is it really? I should have said, yeah, I know. That's why I played it.
I know. Yeah, I know. I got you. So you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Welcome back. If you're just catching us because you're hopping in your car, hang out, because we have a fantastic piece that we're going to continue with that we didn't touch on yet. So our whole show has been about solar energy, and some of the things that you're doing over there, Yogi, at USF. USF, help me out here.
Okay.
I forgot on my notes.
All right, all right.
USF Research, no, Clean Energy Research Center.
Okay, I think you wanted to talk about the new technology
Yes.
that we are bringing to the market.
And before you jump into that, let's talk about your why.
Okay, the new technology that we're trying to bring out is mainly because my son is asthmatic from birth, and he has a lot of allergies, and I was trying to find some air cleaning technology that would help him, but I did not find anything on the market that would help him. But I was working on a solar technology at the time, and it just occurred to me that I could use that technology to clean indoor air. And so we applied the principles of solar energy, but for indoors, instead of using the sun, we're using light of appropriate wavelength. And so
For example, what does that mean?
So for example, it's the light that falls on a catalytic filter, and as air passes through, it becomes completely disinfected. Any viruses in it, or bacteria, or mold and mildew, spores, or volatile organic chemicals that we have indoors, from the surface finishes and the paints and
Paint,
stuff.
yeah.
that
A lot
they-
of them are going to low or no VOC, which is nice.
Right, and so this technology destroys all of these things, and so because it helped my son, I want to see that it helps everybody else also.
So how long ago did you think of this idea? Like, when were you testing that solar piece?
Well, it started almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, but it takes time for a technology to develop.
Of course.
For example, when I got the first idea, I got a master's student, graduate student who had to do experimentation for 2 years to see how it will work. And then it continued with more graduate students doing the research. Eventually the technology was developed, but then to take from there to make it into a commercial technology takes a lot
There's another
more,
whole animal in itself, right?
Indeed. And so that's what we have done so far, that we have prototypes available that we have given out to beta testers. These are people who have a lot of allergy problems or other problems. And
Now, did you
just-
start with your son? Like,
my son got the first unit.
Okay.
And that's how I knew that
It was gonna work.
That it was going to work. Indeed.
So he got sick a lot less after you put this in your home?
Yes, indeed. And this is where one time, after we had a unit in his bedroom for about a month or so, and he was telling my wife, and says, "Mom, I've not been using my inhaler that much lately." And so we knew this technology was working. And so now beta testers, there are a couple of them in Tampa area, who one said that he always woke up with red eyes and continued to sneeze for an hour or so after he woke up. After using this unit for about a week or so, all his symptoms went away.
So, what are some of the symptoms, like when you were outlining who your beta testers would be? What type of symptoms were they having?
Well, I described one. There's another beta tester, and this old lady is in San Diego. She said that she was taking allergy medication every day and still woke up with stuffy nose every morning. And so it had been years that this is the way she was living. And then she started using it, and within 24 hours, she wrote back and she said that she finally woke up without stuffy nose. And so these are people who have allergy problems, and there are triggers in the air that cause them problems. And so if you can clean that air, then those triggers go away and they feel better.
And eventually there can be so many triggers that it actually makes them sick.
Yes, indeed. And in the indoor air, we have mold, for example. A lot of people have allergies to mold. We
And the
can
crazy part is too, like we did another whole, just to touch on this really quickly, we did another whole show before on mold, and we had the guy was like that's all he does is mold remediation, but he actually has his PhD in like chemistry and like so he totally understands the genetic makeup of mold, even if you will. But he realized when his family was getting sick that it was mold, and so a lot of people are like, oh, just put some bleach on it or whatever. You can't. It's in the air.
Yeah. Well, when you feel that the air someplace is stuffy and you
Or like
feel that,
moist.
Yeah, moist, but you don't think that that's mold, but you're actually breathing mold over there.
I know I've walked into some properties and I can just feel like my throat feels all scratchy when I leave, and it's just
That's one of the feelings you will get if you have lived in a place where you don't have as much mold or very little mold, and you go to some building or some house where they have a lot of mold, your throat will be scratchy, and you will get that musty feeling in the air.
So is it taking like even pet dander and stuff out of the air?
Yes. So the way the system is designed, it will remove pet dander, pollen in the air, at the same time any bacteria, viruses, and that's a big problem these days with viruses that we hear about. Some of them we don't even have cure against, and these are mutations of various viruses, and some are coming from other countries.
Oh,
People
yes.
come, they bring certain viruses with them, and we had never heard of MRSA, for example, or MERS, or SARS, or bird flu,
Ebola.
Ebola, and so these are all viruses, and so this is why a technology like this, I think, can be very helpful.
And we were looking at your chart too on your site just to talk about some of the things that were on the market before, because yours hasn't launched yet. It's beta testing. It's dropping in 2016, right?
The unit will be available commercially in 2016.
Okay. So you're starting commercially and then residentially?
Right. Now, I'm talking about really the residential unit, which will be available in 2016.
Okay.
The units for commercial buildings are actually available
Okay.
now. We put our first one at USF.
Of course.
Right.
And has a lot of people noticed the difference?
Indeed, it has made a lot of difference for the people that are using
See,
it.
that's what happens when you get a bunch of smart college kids together. They collaborate and it makes everything better. So, but some of the things in the market, like as people that would be more familiar with, would be like the HEPA filters, the electrostatic, the ozonation, the UV lamps, fumigation, that kind of stuff.
Well, the commercially available technologies, I think HEPA filter is sort of the industry standard now. All the hospitals use it and everywhere. But, HEPA filter will filter out these bacteria and mold and stuff, but it can't do anything with them, so they start to multiply on the HEPA filter.
Oh my gosh.
So it actually becomes more dangerous for you because they're multiplying there. And so you need to do something with them. You need to actually get rid of them completely.
And how does your unit do that?
Okay, our unit, as I said, is an outgrowth of a solar technology. Just like light, when it shines on a solar panel, it produces electricity. In this case, light shines on a catalytic filter, and instead of producing electricity, it starts a chemical reaction.
To break it down?
Right, and that breaks down all of the organic chemicals. And these bacteria, viruses, they're all organic. And so they are broken down to carbon dioxide and water. So there's nothing left.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was looking just at your list, even that it's, it removes the particles like the HEPA filter does, but it's not multiplying it. It's also going to remove the bacteria, the mold. It's going to kill the viruses that are floating around in the air, destroy VOCs.
Right.
That's really good, probably in some of those older houses, right? That
Indeed.
even have lead-based paint.
Yeah, well, actually, VOCs can be in newer houses also.
Yes.
In fact, newer buildings, as you go in, you smell, and that smell is from the VOCs. And that comes from the paints and from other things that are in the building.
I was just familiar with paint. What else is it associated with?
Well, surface finishes that we use on furniture, for example, on various things we have in the house, in the building. Now, even when you cannot smell, you have VOCs at very small concentration. Now, you say, well, okay, I can't smell, so everything is fine. But when you're breathing these, even in small concentrations over long periods of time, they cause damage to your internal system.
And we have just a couple minutes left, but to break down VOC for the person listening, what does that mean?
It's volatile organic chemicals. And these are the sort of fumes that come out of various surfaces. And they're not good for us.
Right.
At least not good for us to breathe.
Yogi Goswami, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For being my guest today. The pleasure was all mine.
It's a pleasure for me.
And we're so happy that we had you today on Tampa Home Talk. If you're just chiming in and you missed our show, catch it in its entirety. We're going to post your product Transform Air on our website, tampahometalk.com, as well as your show cards so that people can reach you if they have questions. Thank you so much again. What a fabulous show. And we'll be here same time, same place next week. If you missed any part of the show, catch it on its podcast or on tampahometalk.com. And as always, we'll have another great show lined up for you next week. But for this week, we're out.
WTAN, Clearwater, Tampa Bay. WDCF, Dade City, Tampa Bay. WZHR, Zephyr Hills, Tampa Bay. Listen.
Killers on the run. Hackers got it all. I'm Evan Haining. Bloodhounds have the scent of Richard Matt and David Sweat, who escaped from a maximum security prison last weekend. Correspondent Brian Todd reports a woman who worked with the fugitives may have been the one who helped them break out.
Escapee Richard Matt made Joyce Mitchell feel special. That's what she told police, according to a source familiar with the investigation. The source says Mitchell did not specifically mention she was in love with Matt.
Mitchell is said to have changed her mind about driving Matt and Sweat to freedom when she recalled he had dismembered one of his murder victims. Well, China is a suspect in the massive security breach of federal computers.
Whoever did it hit the jackpot for whatever reason. The American Federation of Government Employees says every person who works for Uncle Sam had personal data stolen by the hackers.
Correspondent Bob Costantini reports everything from birth certificates to pay histories to pension information was stolen. I'm Evan Haining. Correspondent Barbara Starr reports the Pentagon is considering whether to build new military bases in Iraq to counter ISIS. General Martin Dempsey said today several sites may go up in strategic areas near Baghdad, Tikrit, Mosul.
How many U.S. troops? Nobody can say right now. Some of them might be repositioned, in the Pentagon's words, from their current locations in Iraq, but a good deal of them may come from their bases here in the United States.
In Florida, two Pakistani-born brothers got the maximum prison sentence for organizing a terror plot against New York City landmarks. And in Virginia, a 17-year-old faces up to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to providing material support to ISIS.
The yeas are 278, the nays 149. The bill is passed.
The House has passed a $77 billion defense spending bill that President Obama has threatened to veto if the Senate also approves it. Wall Street closed in the black. The Dow gained 39 points. I'm Evan Haining.
If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish and see what real value is. Call 877-249-6988. You can also save a bundle when you combine DishNet high-speed internet with your TV service. Call 877-249-6988. Programming starting as little as $29.99, plus access to thousands of movies and TV shows. Stream to your TV, smartphone, or tablet. Call 877-249-6988. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get Dish today.
It was announced prior to puck drop that goaltender Ben Bishop was day-to-day with a lower body injury, which meant Andrei Vasilevsky got his start in net. And despite only letting in 2 goals, it wasn't enough as the Bolts fell to the Blackhawks 2-1, evening the series up at 2.
He was great. He gave us a chance to win. He was big all game for us. There was a couple odd mans towards the end. We were pushing to try and tie it, but he came up big and kept the deficit at 1. but we have full confidence in him.
Overall, the Lightning weren't unhappy with the way they possessed the puck tonight and played the game, especially late in the third period with a last-minute push to try and even up the game.
I think our focus is just on Game 5 and making sure that we come out in Game 5 at a home rink.
The Bolts will travel back to Tampa tomorrow to prepare for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final on Saturday night. With your Tampa Bay Lightning update, I'm Michelle Gingras.
The Tampa Bay Lightning are skating closer and closer to the Stanley Cup. Hear all the games right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
After not starting the previous 3 games with a sore left wrist, Evan Longoria was back in the Rays lineup Wednesday, and he certainly produced.
First pitch to Evan on its way, and it's lifted in the air to left field. Back at it is Matt Joyce. Back to the wall, and it's gone! Evan Longoria on the first pitch he sees here in the third gives the Rays the lead again. It's 3-2.
That home run gave the Rays the lead for good in a 4-2 victory over the Angels, and the bullpen took over from there.
Inching back towards the base, not being held in the pitch.
Strike 3 call and the ball game is over. And the Rays have defeated the Angels, and they pick up a game in the American League East.
4 scoreless innings to back the start of Erasmo Ramirez for the Rays bullpen as they look to make it 2 out of 3 against the Angels tonight with Alex Colomé on the hill. Airtime of the Rays Baseball Network at 6:30. With a Rays Report, I'm Neil Solondz.
Catch the Rays all season on the Rays Radio Network. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com.
We have a special guest on the line, Pete Rose. Pete, how you doing, buddy?
Rick, I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Good to talk to you. You know, Bill called me and told me you were coming on. So excited. You got the new thing on TLC.
Pete hits and misses. Exciting. We're having a lot of fun and going there and just talking sports with you.
Fires, Rose swings.